Have you ever felt trapped? Watching your rent climb higher each year, your grocery bill swell, and you're wondering why you're working harder but always falling behind? It's not bad luck, it's money printing. And here's the shocking truth. Most of this money isn't printed by the government, it's created by banks out of thin air. Many people think that central banks are the ones with the money printers, but it's also commercial banks that have the ability to create money. Meet Jack. Jack needs some money for his business, so he goes to the bank and applies for a loan. The bank reviews Jack's creditworthiness and decides he's good for it, gives him the loan. The money that the bank has just given Jack has been created out of thin air. It's completely new money that never existed before that moment. Historically, banks needed a reserve requirement, meaning that they needed to have a certain percentage of their deposits as reserves, 10% for example. However, many modern central banks have eliminated reserve requirements, so there's less of a limit these days. So how are central banks involved? Well, a central bank is a bank that commercial banks will borrow from. So if a commercial bank needs more reserves to be able to loan out more money, they might borrow it from another commercial bank, or they might go to a central bank. The central banks have a duty to control inflation, stabilize the economy, maintain employment levels, and manage the country's currency and financial system. It does this by controlling the money supply and by setting interest rates. When a central bank lowers interest rates, it becomes cheaper for commercial banks to borrow money. This encourages them to loan out even more money to people like Jack because they can access funds at a lower cost. When loans are cheap, businesses and individuals borrow more, which increases spending and expands the total money supply. On the other hand, when a central bank raises interest rates, borrowing becomes more expensive. This makes commercial banks less willing to give out new loans, slowing down the creation of new money. Higher interest rates reduce spending, slow inflation, and can even trigger recessions, as people and businesses struggle to afford big purchases like homes, cars, and investments. Central banks also use quantitative easing, where they create money out of thin air to buy assets like government bonds. This floods the system with cheap money, inflating stock markets and real estate prices. All of this means that money isn't something physical or fixed, it's created through debt. If everybody paid off all of their debts, there wouldn't be any money left in the system. It sounds unbelievable, but it's true. So when people say, why does everything keep getting more expensive? The answer is simple, because new money is always being created. Think about it. Your grandparents could buy a house on a single income, raise a family, and retire comfortably. Today, people work 2 jobs just to be able to afford rent. And that's because every time new money is created, the money you already earned becomes worth less. They don't need to take your money, they just devalue it. If the problem is unlimited money creation, the solution is money that no one can print. That's exactly what Bitcoin is.